The public story of Vera Katz begins in the early 70s in Portland. She'd moved to the city in the mid-60s with her artist husband, Mel. News viewers had a glimpse of the tough new political talent in interviews like this, after protesters convinced the Portland City Club to allow women to join.
First, congratulations. They've entered the 20th century, kicking and screaming.
In 1972, she entered the male-dominated Oregon legislature, eventually becoming the first woman in Oregon to ever hold the powerful position of Speaker of the House. While in the legislature, she helped forge Oregon's system of background checks for concealed handgun purchases and pushed through an education reform program, while at the same time fighting for equal rights legislation and against discrimination based on sexual orientation.
I will faithfully and honestly discharge my duties as mayor of the city of Portland.
In 1993, Katz became Portland's mayor and served 3 consecutive terms. She rallied the city during the historic floods of 1996 to help protect the seawall downtown, and she pushed through light rail to the airport and elsewhere. She also helped create the South Waterfront District, the Pearl District, and the remodeling of what was then a rundown civic stadium. She also spearheaded the popular East Bank Esplanade, which opened up the east side of the Willamette River to the public. But she was more than a doer. She was also a role model to many, including Multnomah County Chair Deborah Kafoury.
Growing up as a young woman and having someone like Vera really blaze the trail made such a difference in my life.
Vera Katz was also a fighter who dealt first with breast cancer while mayor and then later a rare form of cervical cancer. A reporter asked if she could really lead the city while undergoing treatment.
You're damn right I can do it, and you're going to have to prove it to me that I can't.
After retiring from politics, Vera had to undergo dialysis 3 times a week, 3 hours a day. She didn't like it. The ordeal lasted over this past 13 years. A few years ago, she and I talked about life, and she told me that she would be in charge right up to the very end.
The one good thing about all of this, I will be in control. If it's time to leave, I just don't show up to dialysis. I don't call a doctor. I might call a doctor, but I don't have to. And you, from what I understand, leave this world quietly, without pain, and you don't need any assistance. So ultimately, I have full control.
Oh, wow.
And it turns out that is what happened. She was diagnosed recently, a couple weeks ago, with acute leukemia. And then a spokeswoman told me she pretty much said she was done. She stopped dialysis. She was moved into hospice care on Monday and then died this morning.
She has left an unforgettable mark, that's for sure. I remember in 1999, before I even moved here, I did the mayor's walk during the marathon, and there was Vera Katz to greet all the walkers, giving out a rose. That was my first encounter with her, which was memorable. But you've covered her many times. What stories will you remember?
Well, one of my favorite was when I was covering the legislature 27 years ago. I found out she had this big education reform plan, and I was walking down the hallway with her because I thought, this is a big story, we got to report this, and she didn't want it out yet. And we got on an elevator, and I said, really, I got to get this out. And she hit the emergency stop in between like the 3rd and 4th floor. And she came over nose to nose, and she said, if you report that, I'll kick your rhymes with grass. And I was laughing so hard, I loved that. And I did end up reporting it, and she didn't hold it against me, I don't think so. But she was tough, man.
And she was omnipresent. I mean, it just felt like she was everywhere. What a remarkable figure.
We'll never forget her. Thank you, Pat.